very good evening to everyone. Before I start, I think I shall say something about what I heard today, the news about the transport companies, public transport companies, have decided not to apply for increase in transportation fare. Right? But I was wondering, why would they apply to decide whether to increase transportation fare instead of to apply to reduce the fare? No. If they can actually go and apply for a fare increase, why can't we apply for a fare decrease? What is a PTC for? Is it for the transport companies to increase fare only? I think that is not very right. All right. Let me touch on budget. Basically, as an economics student, graduate from economics, I would say, in general, the direction of the Tharman's budget is pretty well set in. Right? You have addressed two main things. One, credit crunch. That is very important because what we are facing now is a crisis of confidence, and we must get out of this crisis where banks do not want to lend money. This is actually a very serious problem we are facing right now. Huh? Okay. Can you see it? Right. So close. Okay. I was saying, Tharman's this budget is actually well set fruit on. He addressed two things: the credit crunch, number one. Number two, to save jobs. However, while the direction is right, there are some of the things are not pretty correct, in my view. And the amount of money that is being thrown in is not sufficient. Let me take a look at the numbers. Right? Our economy is about $240 billion per year, GDP. We are throwing $20 billion into the system, which is amounts about 8.5% of the whole GDP. Right? How could we actually depends on a less than 10% of injection to reignite the whole system again? Now, we are facing a global meltdown actually, right? And this global impact will actually have about 20% or 30% on our whole GDP. Why? Because we are an open economy. We depend on entrepreneur trade. We depend on export. So 8.5% injection, no matter how you put it, it is totally insufficient. Thus, that's why they're actually saying that we are going to have about 5 to 6% unemployment rate. I think that's pretty correct. Now, if we are expecting a 5 to 6% of unemployment rate in Singapore, what does that translate to? It means we will have about thousands of people, I think close to 100 or 200,000 of people going to lose their job. And when they lose their job, they do not spend because they do not have the means to spend. That's number one. They cannot pay their mortgage. That's number two. And most probably, their electricity, waters will be cut. That's number three. So how are we going to address this problem? This is not addressed in the budget. Not at all. Right? Saving jobs is part of the equation. But you have to think in a forward manner. How about the unemployment? Right. Now, my colleague have actually touched upon certain aspects of the job credit. The job credit is basically on a very good direction, but it's basically salary subsidies that the government is giving, although they do not want to use the subsidies because subsidies to them is a dirty work. However, in principle, that is what it is, a subsidy. But if you are going to give cash handout, the problem you will face will be there will be abuse of this system. So in my blog, actually, for NSP, we actually suggested these subsidies should go into the CPF. Why is that so? Now, when the government actually do that, the money doesn't flow out of the system. It doesn't flow out of the system. For example, if an MMC is going to employ people here, right, and he takes this subsidy and something happen to their main companies overseas, they will translate that. They will just take these subsidies out of the system, right? And there will be a certain abuse. I'm not going to mention how it could be abused because I don't want people to learn about how it could be abused. But basically, it could be abused, the whole system. Now, the third thing I would like to mention is there are certain tax in Singapore that is unwarranted. Water conservation tax. Why? Basically because if we are using new water and part of our problems is solved, why do we continue to have this water conservation tax? TV license is a nuisance every year. We have been talking about it every year. A TV license will add about over $100 million to the MediaCorp. But look at what we are having in the MediaCorp. It is a private company. If it's a private company, by all logic, PAP says that no subsidies. Why are we subsidizing a private company? They should find their own ways to make money. Right. The third one, electricity pricing, is quite absurd right now, where we are having $40 US dollars per barrel of oil, but our electricity is actually based on $90 US dollars. Why is that so? No, it is unreasonable. The third one, why are the cartel of the petrol companies not reducing the oil prices accordingly? These are not mentioned in the budget what the government is going to do about it. Well, there are certain things in the budget like tax rebate, tax cut, which I do not think is in tune of what we want to do to save jobs and to get rid of the credit crunch. It doesn't do that. Because we want to save jobs, we want to save those companies who are in the red, not who are already profiting, you know. So what a tax rebate would do to save those companies who are already losing money? It doesn't make sense to me. What you can do is, if the company actually lose money for this year, you can actually have a reverse taxation. That could be done. It means that for the past 3 or 5 years of the taxes that you have paid, the government will rebate to you of what you have lost. That's a negative taxation.